So welcome to episode 2 of the Coaches vs. Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. I'm Tom Ferguson alongside Coach Andrew Kettel from the Scranton Preparatory School. Coach, they let us back in to do another episode. How about that?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
We got a lot of positive feedback on the first one. We really appreciate everybody that watched that. Coach Natalie for joining us there on that one. We're excited to be here and be a part of this. And it's been a couple weeks, obviously, since we've been together, Coach, and the Coaches versus Cancer of NEPA kind of kicked their thing off with the tip-off breakfast that happened a couple weeks ago at Scranton High School. How did that kind of work out for you guys?
Well, it was a great morning. We had about 300 people at Scranton High School. We had Coach Fran O'Hanlon from Lafayette College as our guest speaker. We had a few survivors. We had the Chandler family got up and spoke about their, battle with cancer for their son and how they went. And, it was nice because it's their school. So it was the Scranton family, the Scranton High School family right there to support the Chandler family. And so that was really nice morning. And it just tips off the basketball season locally, which is great. Games are underway now as we speak. So a lot of excitement around here. We know you had some big news over the break.
Yeah, my wife gave birth to our first child. That happened back in November, and he's a month old at this point.
Congratulations!
And thank you very much. It's
a future baller.
That's for sure. We've been watching a lot of basketball on the nights that I have him downstairs. He is already taken to seemingly sleeping better and more when I'm watching him for the night than when my wife is. We're both conscious of that at this point.
You're in trouble.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't, even when I win, I lose in that sense. But he's doing great. He's having regular movements. He's eating, which is important. He's doing all the things a baby should do. He's growing, which is what we wanted. So
that's great. Congratulations.
It's weird. It's crazy.
Welcome
to
the club.
I always said that you can prepare yourself and as mentally and as much as you think you can, but you're never really 100% prepared for that.
Yeah, it's the best thing in the world. So congratulations. We're happy for you.
Thank you. So if I look a little sleep deprived or I sound it, you'll know why. You'll know as to why. But as you mentioned, Coach, basketball season tipped off. Scranton Prep had a big win over Myers to open their season. How excited are you to kind of just get this thing going and get underway?
Oh, it's fun. The preseason with practices and scrimmages, as other coaches and players could attest, is great. But at some point, like Wednesday before opening night, the kids don't want to play each other anymore. They want to go play someone else. They want to get the lights to come on. They want their parents and families and fans and student body to come and watch them. We talk about the practices are our homework and the games are our test and they want to be able to go out and show everyone all the hard work and dedication they put into it. So I'm happy for our guys to get a win on Friday against a good young Myers team. They have a ton of potential to be really good. We're probably going to see them again in the district tournament. Coach Toole does a great job. So we're excited, and as we move forward, tough, difficult exhibition schedule, but that goes for everyone locally, not just us. So lots of fun, and basketball season's here.
It is here, Leo O'Boyle, the star player, if you will, for Scranton Prep. A lot of hype surrounding him. He just declared for Lafayette, correct?
He just signed. Yep.
And he's coming off a football season for Scranton Prep where he got them to the state semifinals in their class, and I'm sure he was disappointed with that because he played so well as their quarterback, but I'm sure there's a little part of him too that's pretty excited to get out on the court as well.
Yeah, Leo's a terrific athlete and even better person, and so he left everything on the field with the football team and led them for 4 years and did a great job at bittersweet, definitely, but I think he's happy to be back playing hoops and looking forward to a successful campaign.
So coming up on the show on this episode, we're going to be talking to a local coach, PJ Hughes from Scranton High School, the girls basketball coach there. He took over 4 years ago, has won a district championship there, has really kind of turned that program around back into a team you have to look out for every season. So we'll talk to him about that team. We'll talk to him about girls basketball in the area. We're also going to do something that we talked about we would do here on the Coaches vs. Cancer podcast, and that's talking to survivors. And we have Natalie Gregorio joining us on the program today. She's from local high school, Valley View, graduated in 2015, but she's going to tell her story, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's pretty heavy. And Coach, you obviously have talked with Natalie before. She was an honoree at Coaches versus Cancer. Her story is pretty heavy, but she's a really wonderful person. Oh,
she's great. She's an inspiration from the day I met her at a Valley View basketball game for Coaches versus Cancer in 2014 or 15, and just a great young girl who's been through a lot, but she's strong and she's doing great, and she's helping a lot of people.
So she's going to tell us her story and kind of explain what happened there. And later on in the program, we'll talk to Coach Lon Kruger, the head coach at Oklahoma, now the Coaches versus Cancer Council Chair, taking over for Coach Phil Martelli, who we talked to last week. Excited to talk to him, leading the Sooners out there in Oklahoma, and has been a part of Coaches versus Cancer, has been on the council since 2007, but obviously knew Norm Stewart back in his Missouri days, and Coach has been pretty much everywhere in college basketball, all of the big conferences, even in the NBA for a little bit. So this is a guy who's seen a lot of basketball and has been involved with Coaches versus Cancer a long time. Looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah, I mean, for Coach Kruger to join us on a Sunday morning to take time out of his busy schedule is awesome. And that we talked about it in the last podcast, and I'm sure it'll be a recurring theme as we move forward. But these guys at the top of the game who are helping Coaches versus Cancer or leading Coaches versus Cancer nationally are busy guys.
Right.
And they have high pressure jobs. So for him to take 15, 20 minutes out of his busy schedule to join us and chat with us is an honor, really. So we're thrilled to have Coach Kruger.
So that's what's coming up in the program, and we're going to start with Coach P.J. Hughes from Scranton High School. So now we welcome Coach P.J. Hughes from the Scranton High School girls basketball team here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. Coach, we appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here.
So you're in your 4th season at the helm of the Scranton girls basketball team. You spent 10 years previously as the JV boys coach. You've been at Scranton for a long time. Their brief history, Scranton as United High School have had a lot of highs with the girls program and a lot of lows, and you kind of came in during one of those lows. What was kind of what you wanted to change as you got there with the program? What was something you saw that you were like, okay, we need this needs to improve?
The more us mentality, because you're taking kids from all different parts of the city, so you really they don't know each other before they show up and play that game. First practice, first conditioning you do. So making it more us, that takes a whole 12-month commitment. The summer leagues, simplest workouts. It might be an hour every day in the summer, Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, but it matters. Like, because they start to know each other, they become friends. It's like with basketball. Like, you see freshmen, and with girls, they're all mature at different levels. So you see a lot of girls. It's like they just become friends, like things they would never come together like that.
So we're only a game into the season. Obviously, the 2018-2019 scholastic season underway. You guys had a game against Holy Cross. It was a loss, but you're facing them again in the Lionett tournament. Scranton always plays a pretty robust out of league schedule to start things off. What's kind of your expectations so far this year?
Considering what we did to hurt ourselves, it was a productive night, and that's what you're looking for in December. You're looking for productive nights, and I always say my December record's not too competitive, I guess, but we're getting there. Colette had a big night for her offensively. She's got to learn to be more of a dependable player for herself now as a junior. But Holy Cross, they're a quality program, and they've been doing this for a long time, Barry up there. And every day they just roll in new girls, and it's a program. They play hard. They're going to play. They're not going to give you an inch, and we needed that because you can't match that kind of competition in practice every day. So seeing the speed of the game will help my girls coming again. There are a couple of new girls out there that'll help them. They got a little shell shocked. But that's expected. You see your first night, and they all say, "Oh no, I'll be fine." No, no one's fine. And I remember, it's funny. You see Colette have 23 points and 10 rebounds, and 2 years ago we were up there, and she had the same crazy look on her face, and when the Sierra was getting hurt through that same moment. So the things like that will help us too in the long run. Get ready for January.
Well, that was always, even when I was playing at Dunmore, those opening nights, you're just so energized. You're so ready to get out there and play that even the bench players, even the players that weren't going to get out there on the floor, they're energized. They're ready to go. It's tough to kind of put a stopper on that sometimes.
Even our camera girl was a new girl this year. She lost the the pedal's still halfway through the game, so we got a lot of kinks. We got full program to get the kinks out the first night.
That first night's always tough because, as Tom alluded to, everyone's nervous, everyone's anxious, but as coaches, and I'm sure you feel the same way, we don't feel prepared enough.
Yeah.
Like we don't know, did we do this enough? Did we do that enough? Geez, I didn't get this in. I didn't get that in.
Mm-hmm.
But then the ultimate thing is we don't know really what does Holy Cross look like.
Yeah.
Now, so after game one, moving forward, he's going to have film on everyone. He's going to have scouting reports. He's going to, and you can then relay that to the teams. That first night is really hard for everyone, but it's fun at the same time.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
So you won a district championship a couple years ago, made the state tournament for Scranton, and I thought this was an interesting question for you. You kind of mentioned Sierra Lloyd. She was someone that was a ball-dominant guard, a go-to player that can go out there and get you points. What's the transition been like from having someone like her to having, two really good post threats as your main scoring in Colette Mulderig and Christy Hart?
Yeah, that's one of those things I actually learned from Tony. The 10 years with Tony, he at Scranton, you can never be a system person. Mm-hmm. You got to adjust because you never know who's coming. And I mean, we've seen transfers, we've seen kids leave, but you gotta take what you give you. And it's a different way of playing. We're running things. I mean, obviously, Sierra made a life a lot easier for everybody. Once she bought in, we really got things going. And she bought in. Girls looked up to her, and now literally and figuratively, girls are starting to look up to Colette. And we have a nice seniors with Christy and Livia. But Sophia Gagalsi's really coming a long way as a point guard. And as a point guard, you have the ball in your hands. And as Coach Kettel will tell you, point guard has the ball in hands. And they look up to people like that. It's like the quarterback in football. You can say you're not a leader, but you are. You have the ball in your hands. And so it's one of those things that's great. And we're really working ways to get her the ball more often. I mean, she's taking her game to a next level with an outside shot. I think I've heard more comments about her three-pointer there. And I think like, every coach I've seen, when's the Colette shooter's three-pointer? I'm like, she was 1 for 2. She's not exactly Ray Allen yet. So, but it just, you do something like that, it changes how people view you, and it's just the way it is. And she's explaining again her game to a farther distance away from the basket.
You were joking about your exhibition league schedule and kind of how maybe the wins and losses don't necessarily add up, but how does that kind of prepare you for the league schedule once you hit January? Especially, when we talk about the Line It tournament here in Scranton, that's a lot of really great programs, and Holy Cross joining it this year, Dunmore, Scranton Prep. How does competition like that prepare you for the league and then for the district and state playoffs afterwards?
You want to play the best teams in the best night. I mean, if you're gonna consider yourself good, like when they come with those rankings, you want to be up on the top. The girls look at those, and the boys look at them. And if you want to climb the rankings, I always say you got to beat somebody. So if you don't want to, you can't hide from everybody all the time. So, but we play a nice competitive schedule. We're gonna go to play Emmaus down in District 11. We're gonna play Stroudsburg in January, and obviously the Line It tournament. I mean, Scranton Prep just beat Boyertown yesterday by 10, and Boyertown is a state champion kind of team. They actually won a state champion 2 years ago. So I mean, there's no off days, and you go down to Wilkes-Barre, you play a couple teams down there, and you see what they got, and then you got Hazleton later on down the road. But Abington Prep, I mean, there's this big. I mean, girls basketball. I mean, there's like 5-6 good teams, really good. I mean, you're gonna see Dunmore make a run this year, and Prep's gonna make a run. And these like state title teams, like these are impressive teams that we play against.
Coach, with that being said, who aside from the teams you just mentioned, can you give us an outlook of what your thoughts are on girls basketball locally?
I mean, you just look at the girls that are playing now, and then I think Marty's doing a great job of getting these. You see the sports and how they're doing it later on, like Destiny Jefferson from Westside. She's making a real big mark down at Westchester. So the girls programs are like the Victoria Toomey now, getting the D1 look at it, Ryder, and Maddie Martin going to Division I in NGIT and NGIT. Just top level girls you just see every night, and you just see like Rachel Rose, her sister Catherine. I mean, they're just really quality basketball players, and that just every night. And while in Paulbeck, you'll see girls up there. They're playing for the U now, and so you see the really nice caliber talent. And Trevor's got like 3 or 4 local girls on the team,
right?
And they're undefeated. They're ranked nationally. So I mean, like. You go play these teams. You got to be ready, and it makes practice a little more productive too, because you can say, well, we're playing this girl, we're playing this team. So like they see the purpose of why you're doing it.
Yeah, girls basketball. I feel like the last few years, girls basketball in the area has really flourished with a lot of the talent that you mentioned, going to Division I schools and even Division III. You know, Trevor Woodruff at University of Scranton. We just mentioned him. A couple of the different girls he's got locally. There's just seems like there's a bevy of talent in our area when it comes to girls basketball.
Yeah, you really. I mean, you see the AAU leagues; they're actually making a full commitment to the girls basketball too. I mean, it's a big commitment now for girls. Once they get in that 9th grade, I mean, sometimes girls are supposed to expected to play as 9th graders too. So that's really coming a long way too. They're seeing the young talent. Rachel Rose was Player of the Year in our league last year as a freshman. Just they're ready when they get there, and so they're getting 4 years experience. They're tough. And everybody's getting everybody better. Like, I mean, you see, it used to be Scranton Prep and Abbottton every year, and then Dunmore. But now you're seeing like everybody, just the quality. North Polk will be getting better.
Yep.
And everybody like that, like the Wallen Paupack. I mean, they've had some really nice teams up there in the last couple of years. So I mean, you're gonna see this. Like, it just seems it's growing, making everybody get better together as a team.
You know, I think the one thing that people have to realize too is when you talked about the girls that are playing for Trevor Woodruff at the University of Scranton and some other girls. I know there's some girls at Marywood, right? And Misericordia. One of the girls just had her 1,000.
Yeah, Carmody. Yeah, and whose sister's at Binghamton. There's another one. Right. Western Wayne. I mean, that's a team.
I think to play Division III basketball, you have to be really good. They're really good.
Yeah.
So that's, Division III.
Yeah.
You have to be really good to play Division III basketball. So I think, the expectations of people need to be a little bit more in focus. Like if any student athlete, male or female, can play Division III basketball, they're doing something right. And they're a great student, great athlete. And anything from that point on, obviously they're phenomenal. So, but just I agree with you. I think it's raised the level of local basketball.
2 years with that all regional team, everybody was here a Division II or Division I player in that all regional girls team.
Yep.
So I mean, I'm looking around going, I'm the one who doesn't belong here. These black girls are going to play D2 Division I basketball, and I'm looking around going, oh, these guys, they really got something going on here.
That's great.
We're talking with Coach PJ Hughes from the Scranton High School girls basketball team. And Coach, this is the Coaches versus Cancer podcast. So what's kind of been your connection to Coaches versus Cancer as a coach?
We got involved in the early days. I remember with Tony, we were getting involved, and everybody was feeling out there in a situation. How like we didn't know, like, because we don't have the big donors. We don't have, like, we had to find our niche and how we were going to contribute to the program. And it was nice to wear sneakers. At the beginning, it was nice to wear sneakers on a game night. So, but we found we got 60 kids now involved, and we don't want to see nickel and dime, but we try to nickel and dime. We start now for opening days. We do our 50-50 for Coaches versus Cancer. I mean, they'll raise $30, but $30 times 10, 15 games, it adds up for you. And then we do like the signs. Everybody likes to have their names in the windows because that's when everybody comes through the games. And that's $1. The ways we add that too. And then the kids just love to get involved. It's just 60 kids, and they really I don't really have to mention the service. Like, they have to do service hours, but it's a rarity they come back and even like beg for the hours. Like they're doing it. They love doing it. And I guess you get a T-shirt sometimes out of it, so that's also a way to get kids involved and stuff. But I mean, that's our niche, and we really have gone a far way. And Mr. Bill, or Dr. Billy Gibbons, my new assistant, he put together this roast a couple of years now last year. And EJ, the DJ, he brought a lot of people out for himself. Even he likes to have people make fun of him with a lot of people around, so it was impressive. So, but that was a great night. We raised a lot of money through that, and that was just simply guys talking to each other. We want to pay $10 and $20, go to this thing. We all met together in Bonavita up there in Dunmore. We had a really nice night raising money toward this great program.
Is there any personal connection for you to cancer? I feel like the cliche is that everybody knows someone or has some connection to it, but it's because it's been proven out. Oh yeah. About my brother-in-law. We were friends before he was my brother-in-law, Bob Foley. He was on that first Bishop Hannon state title run. I would say it's always my favorite team because those guys I grew up with, and all those guys at Hannon, and they were just like, no one thought they were going to be there. Only obviously a freshman showed up and helped them out there, but he had brain cancer, and we were living in his house, his parents' house. I was building my house. My wife just had a first child, and he came in. He had a cross-eyed. He got diagnosed with brain cancer, and his mother, my mother-in-law, is a cancer nurse up at Enrock. So things happened fast during that period. But he went to New York, and as they say, the rest is history. But it was you look back and look how scary it could be. And he has 2 healthy children now. He's married and he's living life. And it's like, for coaches, like, just
the money that you see that the Sloan Kettering Hospital,
Right.
and they just treat, like the words you hear out of people, how well they treat you and how well they, like, you don't feel like this is a death sentence, and that's come so far away. Also, my father got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and like we've gotten so well with raising money, programs are getting so good. Like people go to these surgeries and they almost feel like, wait, like I'm coming out.
Right.
And the positive outlook that everybody has with this stuff anymore, it's just so nice because, 10 years ago, I mean, you didn't know what was going to happen. And now people are really looking for, like, they know they can beat it. They know they can do it.
How much do you think that Coaches versus Cancer or the Pink Games that we see with a lot of the girls team in our area raising money for breast cancer, any kind of philanthropy like that, how much do you think that helps maybe feed that positivity, even when you get diagnosed with something like that? You're still kind of upbeat. You still think, all right, I know what I need to do now. Well,
last year we actually had our own little Pink Game with Sierra Chandler was our starting guard for us last year, and her brother Jalen, now a freshman, playing basketball, playing football. He got diagnosed with leukemia, and he was down in Danville. I remember the one Saturday practice she's like, I can't come. I'm like, what's wrong? She goes, my brother's leukemia. I go to Danville. I'm like, Sierra, you take as much time as you want, and we got through it with her, and she said, I'm good. I'm ready to come back. And then we got through that, and then we had like a Pink Game. We all got pink shirts, and it was our highest crowd of the year. I mean,
right.
So everybody, like the Chandler family is obviously a big name down at Scranton High. So everybody came out and supported them. We raised a lot of money. And then, like, that was one of those things we had to help a family out. And not so much the Coaches versus Cancer, but we had to help the family. And we tried to do a little bit to help them. And it wasn't easy, but we got through it. And he's playing basketball, playing football, and it's great. It's great to see.
That's awesome. And Coach, you and I have talked about this before too on the previous podcast. This area, it just, for whatever reason, if there's a tragedy or something like that in one community, every other community seems to rally around it. It's certainly not unique to NEPA, but it's something that I think we all enjoy about this area.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a million times. That's what we do here. We have each other's back, and that's is part of the reason I think we could say all of us are here to raise our families here and our children and teach them the lessons that we've been taught here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We get banged out a lot, right? People make fun of us a lot in Scranton, and how can you stay there and all that stuff? But there's a lot of good that's going on here, and it's not just Coaches versus Cancer. It's all kinds of different things, and I think just people in our area raise to the occasion when someone needs our help.
Coach Hughes, how would you like to see Scranton High School kind of further its participation in Coaches versus Cancer, or continue to get that message and that philanthropy out there?
We're going to do our best to get more people involved. The more people we've involved, the more people are going to talk about it. And the more we talk about it, more people are going to say, I want to be involved in that, and I want to be involved in that. And just the more hands on deck is always a better thing when you're dealing with something of this magnitude, because of we have people down there that want to work. And we're workers. We put the feet in the ground. I call them the soldiers in the morning. We have our Thursday morning, and they're all there at 7:55. And I mean, they could be home sleeping in for that extra 15 minutes. And those kids come down, and the more kids we got on the ground, every game, every event, we try to do something bigger. And that's how we're really going to do it, is get more people involved. And that's how we're really getting more money involved. Because, I mean, obviously it comes down to, you got to have the money to make this research happen. And I was laughing. This kind of all started with Jimmy V and like his whole speech. Sure. And his foundation. And I go, everybody kind of remembers when they first heard that speech. And that kind of got coaches involved and everybody, this Coach for Cancer, and just more people involvement. It's just great stuff.
Well, it's great to hear students doing that too, I think. And that's something that I think we'll talk about as this podcast goes on, is we talk about getting the word out. We talk about getting people involved. But if you can start students right away in high school with this kind of work, that's something they carry with them for the rest of their lives.
The one thing that Coach Gibbons, Billy Gibbons over at Scranton High School, who kind of leads the Scranton charge with Coaches versus Cancer, and he's been on our committee since day one, and he's a great friend. And Gibby has kids involved in that program, and Coach Hughes and Coach Battaglia and Teddy Anderson. They have kids involved that aren't just athletes. They have any student who wants to get involved. Right. So that's another great thing about the program, is that, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not. They want your help, and they want you to become a part of their team in the fight against cancer. And it's really amazing what they've done over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, down there's so many different stories. So therefore, a lot of those people have been involved in something of this magnitude of a story where they've related to somebody, because we all come from different backgrounds down there, and you never know who is going to be the next one to have to deal with something like this. So everybody to say, look, it's definitely not just the players. It's a student body together.
Yep.
They all want to work. They all want to be a part of something, and that's really nice to have down there.
Well, coaches, we appreciate your time. Who you guys got this week?
We got JR, then a trip to Valley West next week. So put some miles on the Wilkes-Barre 81 South. That's never an easy ride, just based on traffic alone. So sometimes it's nice to go to Holmesdale. It's nice right out Route 6 than going on 81 South a half hour away. But yeah, we got practice this morning, and then 2 more days, and we'll be right back on it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time coming on here, the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank, and we appreciate you giving us some time and talking over this with us.
Oh, it's been great. This is really nice. This has been a really nice day.
Thanks, PJ.
So thanks to Coach PJ Hughes for joining us here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. I'm Tom Ferguson alongside Coach Andrew Kettel from Scranton Prep. And Coach Hughes talked a lot about girls basketball and kind of the bevy of talent that is here in NEPA and what's happening there with Scranton. I'm excited to see kind of how that team develops, because obviously first couple years he had Sierra Lloyd, who is ball dominant guard, scoring guard that can really change a game. That is few and far between, I feel like, in girls basketball sometimes, having someone that can handle the ball and get their own shot like that.
Right.
I'm interested to see kind of how his team develops post that, now the second year post Sierra.
Right. I think what Coach Hughes talked about with, you can't really have like a system in place, because you don't know who's walking through the door the first day of tryouts and as the seasons progress. So as high school coaches, we have to change with our talent. And when he said that, I definitely think that, he's done his homework. He knows that each year in, year out that you have to adapt your coaching style and to the talent around you that you have on your team. So he'll be successful. He's a great guy, great coach, and we're thrilled to have him.
And he mentioned, obviously, students stepping up with Coaches versus Cancer, and you and I have talked about that before. That's probably one of the most important things, is getting kids involved early and getting them to be a part of this from the get-go, because it's something they kind of take with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and PJ and Teddy Anderson, their athletic director, Coach Battaglia, the boys coach, and really Billy Gibbons is the guy who drives it. He's an assistant coach with PJ, and he's a physical education teacher at Scranton High, and he drives their campaign.
So next up on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast, we're going to have a survivor story. We're going to talk to Natalie Gregorio from local Valley View High School. So now on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast, this is one of the segments, Coach, that we talked about that we were going to be doing kind of as the podcast went on, as we got episodes, and that's talking to survivors and talking to people that have gone through the fight with cancer and come out on the other side and are using their stories to kind of inspire and talk to other people. And today our survivor is Natalie Gregorio. Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you here. Obviously, a cancer survivor, was a 2016 honoree at the Coaches versus Cancer ball for you guys, and a graduate nearby Valley View High School in 2015. And Natalie, I guess we'll start with kind of, I know you've told this story a million times, but kind of how this all came about. What happened to? Obviously, this kind of happened in your story in particular way before you were even a thought. You were in utero, if you will, when this was discovered. What happened?
Well, so when I was in utero, my mom, when they did an ultrasound, my mom was told that they found spots on my kidneys and liver. So, and the doctors around here said they didn't really feel comfortable treating me and my mother. So we went out to Penn Medicine out in Philadelphia, and when they found the spots there, they also found where the tumor was growing, and that I was going to have to be a C-section, and I was going to be born at Penn Medicine.
Right.
So, yeah. And the tumor, it started in my ovaries, and it went just right through my inside and then out my back as well.
Now, you said it was in your coccyx, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then we were talking actually earlier off camera, and it got to the point where it was pushing your organs up into your chest.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. A lot of my organs have nerve damage because of the tumor that was pressing on it when I was in utero. So
Right.
I have to still do treatments, and I have to catheterize and things to get through every day.
Right.
So
Now, was that tumor initially, was that a cancerous tumor?
no, the first one, that was not cancerous.
That was benign.
Yes.
So what ended up having to happen with your mother?
So I was actually born 7.5 weeks early. I was supposed to be born out at Penn Medicine, but I was actually born here at CMC Hospital.
Okay.
With a C-section, and the doctors here really didn't know how to treat me, how to take care of me, because
Sure.
they never really heard of it. So when my mom had a C-section, and then right after that, a few hours after, I was life flighted out to Philadelphia.
Right. And then from there, they kind of took care of that, and this was something that they removed the tumor.
Yes.
You had to go into surgery.
Yes.
And your mother eventually made it down there.
Yeah.
And then 16 months later, the news was that the tumor came back. Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They saw spots on my liver and kidneys again, and those cells were kind of hiding the last time they removed the tumor. So, but it's a good thing they were checking me
Right.
routinely, or they wouldn't have found that.
Right. They never would have saw that.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, your early childhood was a lot of surgeries. I heard you mention as many as 46 total surgeries.
Actually, now it's 55. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is not, it's major in that anytime someone goes under the knife, it's something serious. But
Yeah.
a lot of these are like tweaking and
Yes.
just kind of changing things. Correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's usually what it is now that I have going on. Just now that I'm older and I'm done growing, they're just kind of tweaking things to fit my adult body now.
Right.
And yeah, be able to manage everything easier and live a more normal life.
So, this is something that obviously you've been dealing with. It got to the point where you were having surgery. Was it like 1 to 2 times a month or something like that?
Yes, it did.
What was that like for you? I mean, as a kid, kind of growing up, and you mentioned this a lot when you're talking about these things. You felt like you had to grow up a lot sooner than you were ready for. What was that like for you to kind of deal with?
Yes. It was kind of hard to still be a kid and try to have fun and also have to take care of myself
Right.
at the same time. When I was 5 years old, I had to start doing everything on my own when I went to kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to, like I said, grow up a lot faster than everybody else. And it was just, it was difficult because I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to be a normal kid. I didn't want to have to do any of that stuff. And at the time, I really didn't understand everything that I was going through and that I needed to do to stay healthy and alive.
So what exactly was the cancer that you had? What is it called?
Germ cell cancer.
Germ cell. Okay.
Yes. And it starts in the ovaries in women and the testes in male. And it could grow internal and external. And that's what mine was.
How, I mean, and I'm sure you've kind of done some research on it and kind of gotten to know it better. How rare is that? Because this sounds like a pretty crazy case.
Yes, it was very rare. I was actually the third person in the United States to have it. And I was my doctor's 5th surgery.
Wow.
Yes.
That's insane. That's
Yeah.
wild. And how have you, as you've gotten older, you mentioned how tough it was growing up. How have you did you have like a moment where you kind of came to like acceptance of it and decided, you know what, I'm not going to let this drive me anymore, or I'm going to drive this bus instead?
Yes. Yeah. I was probably about 9 years old when it finally hit me, and I was like, I can't let this get me. I could still be a normal kid and still take care of myself, and I just have to keep on going to stay alive and stay healthy and keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And you I know you were active in cheerleading
Yes.
and some other things in high school. So I'm sure there was challenges with that, but I mean, I remember we first met at a Valley View basketball game when you were speaking about your life story with cancer and how do you think coaches versus cancer and not just coaches versus cancer, but other cancer initiatives have helped people who are dealing with this currently or who have dealt with it in the past?
I think it really helps a lot because I always felt like I was alone in the fight. And because my cancer was so rare that I really didn't have anybody to kind of talk to about it or to tell me what's going on next in a way. So now I'm actually in a group with all people who had the same cancer as me on Facebook. And I talk back to the mothers and their parents back and forth about like helping out with the kids and things that the doctors are telling them that I know about and that I've been through. So I really like doing that, helping them, because I know that's what I really wanted, was somebody who understood what I was going through. So I love that I'm able to be there for the kids and kind of give them hope that it's going to get better.
That's great.
When you see something like Coaches versus Cancer, or as Coach Kettel mentioned, any of the other initiatives to raise money and help not just the people going through cancer, but the families that are dealing with it as well, what does that mean to you to see that kind of outreach and that kind of support?
Yeah, it's honestly amazing to me that how everybody comes through in the community and raises so much money and awareness, and everybody's so supportive. And it actually helped me a lot. Like in high school, when I told my story at the game, it let the kids that I went to school with kind of understand what I was going through, because they never really knew the full extent. They just knew I had a brace on my leg, I had a port, but they didn't know everything that I went through. So I feel like it was good for the younger kids in my grade and even the younger cancer survivors to see everything that I'm going through and that I could still do everything else like them.
Yeah, you're still a regular student,
yes,
if you will.
Yes.
Still someone that's graduating, doing your own thing. What are you kind of up to recently?
So right now I'm barbering. Actually, I wanted to go. I believe actually it's from having chemo and losing my hair and everything. That's what made me want to go into the hair industry. So now I'm just barbering and working, and I'm teaching dance to young kids. So it's good.
Great. Natalie, how was your part with Coaches versus Cancer as a cheerleader and a student at Valley View? I mean, Valley View is one of the schools who lead our initiatives locally with raising money and raising awareness, and they have such a great community behind them with Coaches versus Cancer. As a student and a student athlete, as a cheerleader, how did your participation in that help you, aside from being a cancer survivor in high school? Like, can you explain, like, maybe what it felt like to be a part of it?
Yeah, it was honestly amazing to me that I was able to be a part of it, and to be with the awareness and raising money and everything. It was just, I have no words for that. That's just something I love to do. I love telling my story and being there for other people and hearing their stories and just kind of letting everybody know they're not alone. And yeah.
Is that something you want to do more kind of as you get older, to go around and kind of tell your story and kind of give people that inspiration?
Yeah, I would actually love to do that. Like the next step in my barbering career, I actually wanted to make wigs for children with cancer, and I want to do them like with my own money, no charge, anything, because I know when I didn't have hair, even though I was 2.5 years old, it still was something that really bothered me. And I just felt, I don't even know how to explain how I felt just being bald and being different. It was just really upsetting for me.
I think especially at any age when you're kind of developing, anything that kind of makes you different, but when what you perceive a negative way,
yes,
it kills you.
Yeah.
It kills that self-esteem. So I think anything that you can do, and wigs is a great way to do it. Anything that you can do to help a kid feel more normal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's some sense.
That's exactly what I want to do. And I want to make them feel proud to be a cancer survivor and to be going through treatment and fighting. Because I know people, they're embarrassed about losing their hair or being sick or having reports and things. They should be so grateful and happy that they're living their life and surviving this disease. And I just want to help them out and make them feel as good as they can.
Yeah, we hear so many stories about people that go to the hospital with something they perceive as wrong, and the hospitals aren't sure what to do. and then they get that second opinion. They go somewhere else, like you went to UPenn, or
Yes.
What was that like? Or when you look back on it now, how much does that mean to you to know that those kinds of people are out there that can go that extra mile and can look at that stuff and be able to determine what that is quickly and know what to do?
Yeah, that means so much to me because, like I said, they wouldn't have even known about my tumor in the first place. They just thought I had little spots on my kidneys and liver here.
Right.
And they did not really know how to take care of me. Right. So being out there and having somebody be able to take care of me and being so rare, that's great to me that I'm able to just do that. And they're helping me live more of a normal life.
That's great. Well, Natalie, you've been an inspiration for us locally since we first met at Valley View, and your words that night at the basketball game and talking about what you've been through and for all of your continuing with Coaches versus Cancer and coming on today and being our honoree and doing everything you've done so far to help with these children and their families. You're an inspiration.
Yeah,
so
thank you very so much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie Gregorio joining us here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast. Natalie, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
So thanks to Natalie Gregorio for joining us here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. I'm Tom Ferguson alongside Coach Andrew Kettel. And Coach, you know Natalie pretty well. You've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. That was my first interaction with her. I've obviously watched the little video package you guys had put together for Coaches versus Cancer's hoopla a couple of years ago, and it's powerful. It's a really powerful story, but the strength that she kind of exudes coming out of that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. She's an inspiration. I mean, her whole life, she's been battling this terrible disease. So, and she's always got a smile on her face.
Yep.
And she's great. She's got a great family. Her mom and grandmother are terrific, and I know she has a great support system. But she's always here to help with Coaches versus Cancer. As she talked about, she's looking to help families who are going through what she went through.
Right.
And she's a difference maker and an inspiration. And I'm proud to call her a friend.
I mean, how important is it, do you think, to have those kinds of stories, to be able to talk about that kind of stuff with her and just for other people that may be watching and listening?
Yeah, I think it just, it reassures us why we're doing this, why we're having a podcast, why
Right.
Fidelity Bank was so nice to sponsor this and all of our other sponsors, and why everyone's involved and why everyone's in this fight. We don't want any more stories like Natalie's.
Right.
And that's the end all. We want to beat this thing. As Coach Martelli says, we want to crush cancer. And we want to celebrate more birthdays, as the American Cancer Society says. And we just need to keep fighting until we don't have to hear stories like Natalie's. We don't want to hear people go through what she and her family have been through.
So we want to thank Natalie for joining us here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast. And someone who also wants to crush cancer, much like Coach Phil Martelli, is Coach Lon Kruger of Oklahoma, now the chair with Coaches versus Cancer, the council. We're going to talk to him right now. So now on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast, we're going to talk to the head coach for Oklahoma basketball and also the current chair of the Coaches versus Cancer National Council, Coach Lon Kruger joining Coach Andrew Kettel and myself, Tom Ferguson, here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast. Coach Kruger, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. How y'all doing?
We're great. Thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. Appreciate what you're doing.
Coach, how's the season going so far? You got a couple games under your belt. You got a couple nice wins, Florida, Dayton, Notre Dame, and Wichita State recently. Are you 7-1 on the season? How are you feeling so far about the Sooners?
Feeling great. Off to a good start. Really like what the guys are doing every day in practice. They're a group that enjoys practice. They enjoy one another. They've had success early season here, so it's easy to reinforce a lot of things that you're looking for as coaches all the time. But this group works hard, and they know we've got to get better with Big 12 play coming up in about 3 weeks. So it's a good group. They've got a good frame of mind.
That's great. Coach, how has your exhibition schedule, what do you think that, the tough exhibition schedule, how will that prepare your team for conference play?
it's always important. Mike Shepard, our director of ops, does a great job of putting together a schedule that fits our team. And we got 6 seniors this year, and we've had 9 games now, and only 2 of them have been at home. So it's a road schedule that against good people is going to prepare us well for conference play. Every night in Big 12, it's going to be extremely difficult. So non-conference really helps us in preparation for that.
Right.
Coach, it feels like Christian James, he's the leading scorer so far. This has kind of been his year to shine. Obviously last year, Trae Young was kind of leading your group in terms of scoring, just playing well, but Christian James has kind of really taken those reins. What have you seen from him so far that you've liked?
He's been fantastic. A senior, been getting better and better, and really great to see success he's had because he worked even more diligently in the spring and summer and fall. He's really invested. So to see him get off to a great start, it's easy to cheer for him because he really has worked hard and he deserves it. And he's led our team on the offensive end, but also 13 rebounds yesterday against Wichita State. He's doing a really good job defensively, taking on a little bit more of a leadership role with each ball game. So we need that, even though we've got 6 seniors. We need 1 or 2 to step out and take a little bit more of that leadership role, and Christian is doing that.
You mentioned Big 12 play, the first game you guys have at Kansas. Who'd you guys cross to get that, to draw that short straw?
Yeah, why not? I guess you got to play them all twice in our league, so it doesn't matter really when, but probably easier places to open up than in Allen Fieldhouse for sure. But Kansas is good. They're always very talented. Bill does a great job, and we know that'll be a big test right off the bat.
What's it been like for you? Obviously this is your 8th year now at Oklahoma, but what's it been like for you to kind of come back to the Big 12? You started at Kansas State in the Big 8 and kind of made your way around the different conferences and then eventually find your way back in the Big 12. What's it been like for you to kind of be back with some of these familiar foes that you're used to?
A little bit coming back into the Midwest, coming back into the home territory, I guess. We've been very fortunate to really have had great people every stop along the way. Barb and I was 7 years in Las Vegas and loved the people there, loved living there. Get to go back there every year with our Coaches versus Cancer event out there in Las Vegas. This will be the 12th year coming up. So, to come back to the Midwest, come back, Oklahoma people are like Kansas people in terms of very genuine, very down to earth, very sincere about helping each other. So it's been great. And people at Oklahoma are fantastic and great leadership. And Joe Castiglione, our athletic director, and President Gallagly, it's terrific leadership on campus and in the athletic department.
I asked Coach Martelli this when we had him on the last episode of the Coaches versus Cancer podcast, but what's kind of been the biggest adjustment for you that you've had to make or kind of had to deal with in your long career, kind of as basketball has grown over the years?
Yeah, things change for sure with all the technology over the last 35 years. When we think about, 15 years ago, we didn't have to talk to them about social media and careful what you put out there on Twitter or, now today it's huge. They got to be very careful. With the technology part of it and, how they're perceived by others, based on what they post. So, that's the technology part of it. The basketball part of it, I think we've got more good players on each team, more guys that can do more things on each team. It used to be that you had a really good player or two and you had to really focus on those guys. But now a lot of teams have 5 or 6 guys that you have to worry about every night. So the depth of talent, I think, is probably the biggest change.
As we kind of transition to our namesake here, it's the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank here. How has basketball you've seen in that growth, Coach, kind of helped the mission of Coaches versus Cancer? How have they kind of helped each other?
I'm proud of what coaches do throughout the country, and Andrew there, of course, leads the way in your area, and the platform that coaches have. I think coaches understand that. they've done a great job of using that platform to increase awareness, increase fundraising opportunities. We're making progress, but we've got a long way to go. And but coaches around the country, going on $120 million now in the last 25 years that Coaches versus Cancer has raised. And you got the Jimmy V Foundation, you got, of course, the leadership of the American Cancer Society. A lot of people are joined in fighting a very necessary fight. Again, making progress, but long way to go, and appreciate everyone stepping in and doing whatever they can to beat this terrible disease.
Coach, how did you get involved with Coaches versus Cancer when you first got involved, and was there something that made you really get involved to the level that you are today?
Yeah, back in the beginning, of course, it started with Norm Stewart and his fight against cancer in the late 80s. And then, the organization started up in the early 90s. But we were coaching at Kansas State at that time. And Coach Stewart, of course, longtime legend in coaching, going back to when he was a terrific player at Missouri. So just knowing him and witnessing his fight, and I think a lot of coaches jumped on board right off the bat because of Coach Stewart. And we've been there ever since because of really that beginning with Coach Stewart's fight.
Okay.
Coach, we're talking with Coach Lon Kruger here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast. What does it mean to you to be named the chair of the council for CVC? You got that was announced back in September. Phil Martelli had done it for a number of years, and now you're kind of the chairman. What did that mean for you to have that opportunity?
Any number of coaches can step into that role because of the background foundation that Coach Martelli has developed over the last 10 years. Fantastic leadership and great investment of his time, and we got a great council, and Natalie Morrison, of course, leads the way and gives us great leadership and really does, as you know, probably most of the work. So, but we're honored. We're delighted to do whatever we can to help in the fight. Again, following in Coach Martelli footsteps, it makes it pretty easy because a lot of things are in place. Mm-hmm. Coaches are on board, and coaches are eager to join in the effort. So we're delighted to be in that position at this time.
What does Coaches versus Cancer mean to you? Why is it so important in your mind?
Everyone's been touched by cancer, of course. There's not anyone that doesn't know someone, have a family member that's directly affected. So it's just, it's a disease that's terrible. It seems like the progress we make, it's a disease that adapts and attacks in a different way. So the doctors, the researchers, people that lead the way in giving are fantastic. And again, there's only one thing to do, and that's keep working harder. When you're in a ball game and you don't quite have all the answers, there's only one solution, and that is to work harder and get more engaged and get more people involved. And certainly we're moving in a good direction with the number of people fighting the fight. But like I say, we're making progress, but still a long way to go. More people surviving every year, more people enjoying more birthdays, but we got to keep going, and we can't stop until we wipe it out altogether.
Coach, we have our campaign here in Northeast Pennsylvania is primarily at the high school level. Do you have any message for the high school coaches, players, administrators, and really everyone involved in high school basketball? Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, your involvement's much needed and very much appreciated. I think the broader the base, the more people involved, this really becomes a numbers game. The more people we can get involved on the grassroots and get others involved, everyone has a circle of friends and a circle of people that they can reach out to and spread the word. So regardless of where you're coaching, regardless of what you're doing, CEOs against cancer, it's not just coaches against cancer, but every person in every walk can broaden the fight and broaden the base of people that are in the fight. And I think that's the big key, is just getting everyone motivated and everyone joined in, and certainly we're making good progress in that area.
Coach, what would you, I think you've kind of answered the question, but what do you kind of want to see Coaches versus Cancer do in the future to kind of further its efforts? Is there an area where you think that growth can continue to happen?
Well, like you say, we pretty much talk to that, because we can just broaden the awareness. We can get more people involved. We can, use our position, our platform to reach out to people and just engage and encourage. And again, people are willing. They want to join in. They've been touched as well. So everyone has been. So as coaches, anything we can do to continue that, in enlarging that circle of people that are fighting. And again, it's a pretty easy pitch, because people want to engage. They want to take this disease on.
You mentioned earlier the Las Vegas Golf Classic. It's going into its 12th year now. You guys have raised over $3.5 million with it. What was that like for you to kind of start and then see that thing grow into what it's become?
It's been great because of all the people involved. 12 years ago, we said we got Vegas, we got great golf courses, we got great weather. We need to do something. We didn't even know what it was. At that point, someone mentioned, the fight against cancer. So from the beginning, it's been a growing fight. MGM Grand, when they came on board 6 or 7 years ago, they really put it over the top, because it reduced all of our overhead. They give us all the rooms. They give us the parties. Coaches from around the country come in, and we've got great participation from over the years, 25, 30 different coaches bringing their foursomes to Las Vegas. Now Sanford Health and Kelby Krabenhoff out of South Dakota, they've come on as a major sponsor, and they've allowed us to more than double our net profits in going, money's going back to fight cancer. So it's a result of a lot of people. DJ Allen, X's and O's of success in Vegas, put the event together. They manage it again every year. It's become a reunion. People from around the country coming in, and great coaches from 10 miles in Nebraska, Dana Altman in Oregon, Frank Martin in South Carolina, Roy Williams from North Carolina, Bruce Weber, and Mike Clark from Kansas State. Again, I'm leaving out 20 coaches, as I mentioned, 5 or 6.
Right.
But people are doing a great job, and anyone can get information about the event, and we're awfully proud of it, and it'll keep growing because of the people involved.
Now, I got to think also, Coach, because of the people involved, sure, it's for charity, but there's some competitive spirits, I would say, competing in that golf tournament, right?
Well, there certainly are. Coaches love competing in any form, but we got Shadow Creek and Southern Highlands, 2 major, big-time golf courses in Las Vegas that coaches enjoy playing, but also enjoy a little bit of the friendly competition as well.
I think Tom and I are going to have to make this trip soon.
Oh, I don't know. You don't want to see me on a golf course.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. We'd love to have you come out. Maybe we can develop a little something to where you can host, your top fundraiser, top coach there in Pennsylvania, and we'll host them and as an incentive to help raise dollars in that area. But you're welcome as our guest anytime.
Thank you.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time and obviously your efforts in the fight against cancer. The chair of the Council for Coaches versus Cancer, the head coach at Oklahoma, Coach Lon Kruger. We appreciate your time here this morning.
Well, thanks very much. Again, Coach Kettel, what you're doing there is unbelievable, and you're setting the bar very high for coaches everywhere. But keep up the great work, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks
Coach.
for spending time with us.
Thank you.
So thanks to Coach Kruger for joining us here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. And I'm Tom Ferguson, Coach Andrew Kettel alongside me. And Coach Kruger talked a lot about, how important it is to get the message out there, continue to get people involved. That's something I feel like that's a theme throughout this show, is just talking about getting people involved with Coaches versus Cancer. And you just look at what he's been able to do, joining the council in 2007, starting that golf classic they have out in Las Vegas, and just going from there, kind of being a part of Coaches versus Cancer all the way up to being the chair of the program.
Yeah, Big 12 school, Oklahoma athletics are very hot right now with Heisman Trophy winners and Final Four football. And
why not?
And Coach Kruger is a big name in college basketball. So to be able to have him with us today and all his points are right on, spot on. I mean, we have to expand the circle of people involved on our team in the fight against cancer. And we're just an honor to have him spend some time with us today.
Yeah, we appreciate him giving us some time here on the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. And that somehow wraps up another episode. we made it through.
Yeah.
I would say with minimal activity, minimal problems and errors like that.
Never
right?
any problems. Only solutions. Only solutions.
We made it work. That's the most important part. But we appreciate the people watching and listening. Don't forget to share, like our page, share what you're hearing here. Give us feedback. We certainly appreciate that of what's happening. We want to make sure we thank our guests, Coach PJ Hughes from Scranton High School for joining us, Natalie Gregorio here from Northeast Pennsylvania sharing her story, a cancer survivor, and Coach Lon Kruger, the head coach from Oklahoma and the council chair for Coaches versus Cancer. We appreciate them all giving us our time. Marky Dennebaum here and in 25/8 Studios for giving us the space to hang out in and record this and be a part of it. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great. And we're excited to continue every month with bringing some more people on and sharing some different stories. Next time we come on, we'll be right near Suits and Sneakers Week.
Right.
And we're hopefully going to have some students in here talking about what the schools locally are doing to help raise awareness and raise funds to continue to try and beat this thing.
So you guys have a wonderful holiday, great Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. We'll talk to you in January. This was the Coaches versus Cancer podcast presented by Fidelity Bank. For Coach Andrew Kettel, I'm Tom Ferguson. We'll see you later.